Hello, chess fans. Welcome to another edition of Chess Chat, a program brought to you live from the new studios of Fitchburg Access Television at 780 Main Street in Fitchburg. I am George Merijanian, Program Director of the Wachusett Chess Club at Fitchburg State University. This club, the second oldest chess club in Massachusetts, meets every Wednesday evening from 6:30 to 10:30 in rooms 142 and 143 of the McKay Complex at the university. And with me for this episode of Chess Chat is once again our award-winning director, Darren Dame of Fitchburg, recipient of FATV's prestigious Boulder Award in 2009, and now in his 17th season doing Chess Chat. And assisting him in the control room and also on camera is fellow resident and longtime Wachusett Chess Club member Brian Bigelow. And sitting across from me is my trusty associate, chess author, chess photographer, Wachusett Chess Club statistician, very active tournament player, my co-host Dave Couture of Westminster. Hello, Dave.
Hi, George.
Well, Dave, this month, March, in the year 2023, is the 80th anniversary of the birth of the strongest chess player in U.S. chess history. And who may that be?
That would be Bobby Fischer.
Bobby Fischer was born 80 years ago. He was born on March 9th, 1943 in Chicago, but grew up in Brooklyn, New York. And
Okay. I didn't know he was born in Chicago.
he was born in Chicago, but didn't stay there long.
Okay.
Because actually after his mother divorced, I think it was 1945, 2 years later, the family moved, the mother, he and his sister, Bobby and his sister, they moved to Brooklyn, New York, and that's where Bobby actually grew up, in Brooklyn, New York. Yeah. And his sister is the one who actually taught him chess.
Right.
She had bought him it was a chess set from a store in the Brooklyn neighborhood where they lived.
Right.
Yeah. And so they both learned the game. Yeah. She went to a store and bought a chess set. Anyways, Bobby Fischer is famous because he became world champion, for one thing. He became world champion. What year was that he won the world championship?
72.
And where did he do it? Where did he win the world championship, and whom did he beat?
So it was Reykjavik, Iceland.
Yes.
He beat Boris Spassky,
Right.
the Soviet champion. The world champion, but
He was world champion. Boris Spassky.
the Soviet Union had owned the title for the previous 30 years, right?
Exactly, right. Now, we're going to be showing, our director, Darren Ding, will be showing photos of Fischer at different periods in his career. First of all, he became the youngest player in the United States to win the national championship at the age of 14. He did it in the U.S. Championship of 1957-58. It started in December 57, ended in January of 58.
Okay.
But he won it 8 times, starting in the late 50s and actually right through the mid-1960s. So let's see some of these photos, because you selected some photos. I mean, there's so many photos of Fischer that have been taken in his career. Here is actually a young photo of Fischer. How old would he be in this photo, would you guess? I mean, he's not a teenager yet, or is he? I mean, I'm trying to tell. Yeah, is he what?
Preteen or early teen.
Preteen, yeah. So this is actually still when he's in Brooklyn, New York.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see another photo of Fischer. Now, this is his mother on the right, who was an activist. Bobby's mother was very much involved in political activism,
Right.
various causes, yeah. And actually I think he had a falling out with her. Actually, there was a period actually where he was left alone. His mother was so much involved in activism that Bobby and his sister were basically left alone. I mean, they where they lived, actually, they didn't have their mother at all times. Okay.
Right.
Let's see if we can find another photo. Now, here's a photo of a young Fischer. On the right is one who coached him, named John Collins. And this is from Brooklyn, New York. John, known as Jack Collins, actually helped Fischer early in his career as far as teaching him chess, coaching him. And he made great contributions to Fischer's development as a strong player. All right, let's see another photo. Here's another photo. Actually, Jack Collins is in the middle.
Right.
But on the left, Fischer's on the right, sitting on the right, reaching over. And we did a program on the player on the left,
Right.
who happens to be Grandmaster Bill Lombardi.
Right.
When Bill Lombardi died, we did a program,
Right,
Chess Chat
yep.
program on Bill Lombardi. And Bill Lombardi also helped Fischer in a big way as far as develop into a strong player.
And during the World Championship, he was his second.
Yes,
right?
during that 1972 World Championship, Lombardi was actually Fischer's second in Reykjavik, Iceland. Okay, let's go to another photo. Now, this is a photo. I have a book actually in German with this photo. The reason it's in German, because this photo was taken in Germany, in Leipzig, Germany. This is a photo of Fischer on the left playing world champion, 1960, Michael Tal, who actually was a Latvian, but a Soviet player.
Right.
This was at the Olympiad. This is an Olympiad that's held every 2 years by the World Chess Federation. This was played actually in Leipzig, Germany. Fischer on the left playing Tal, and I think that game was drawn. Yeah, in that game that they played in the Olympiad. And again, Tal playing for the Soviet Union. Now here we're getting to something close to home.
Right.
This is a photo that was taken right here in Fitchburg. Fischer came to Fitchburg in 1964, March of 1964, 59 years ago, and he performed a simultaneous exhibition at the church, the First Unitarian Church at the Upper Common.
Yep.
By the way, that church at the Upper Common is where FATV has its webcam. Any of our Chess Chat fans who happen to go on the FATV website and want to see what's happening at the Upper Common any time of day, they can click on the webcam and see. They can also see when the snow is going to start to fall, for one thing. But no, Fischer performed a 56 board simultaneous in 1964, and you have a book that was written by international master John Donaldson. He reported on that simul, among many simuls that Fischer did in 1964. Do you want to read for our Chess Chat fans a couple of paragraphs?
Yeah, this was by Parton Keefe's newspaper reporter. Yeah.
He wrote for the Worcester Evening Gazette.
Okay.
But of course, the Fitchburg Sentinel did coverage of this also.
Right.
Okay, what did Parton Keefe, the reporter for the Worcester Evening Gazette, write for this book?
He said, the Cassius Clay of the heavyweight chess ranks, Bobby Fischer, took on 56 challengers the other night at the Wachusett Chess Club in Fitchburg. The usually outspoken and controversial U.S. champion let his fingers do the talking as he set down 49, drew with 2, and lost 5. The simultaneous exhibition lasted 3 hours and 40 minutes, made the 20-year-old prodigy $250 plus expenses, and left him limp as a rag. The 6-foot, well-dressed strategist preceded his exhibition with a lecture, but any similarity to some of the things he has said in the past was non-existent. Instead, he replayed a famous draw match with Botvinnik, former world champion from Russia.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else you want to read from the book?
No, I think that's about it. There's a lot there.
There's a lot. There's a lot. This book actually. What's the title of this book? It's called.
So it's called A Legend on the Road. Yep, by John Donaldson.
And this deals with Bobby Fischer's national chess tour in 1964, and it's very complimentary of the coverage that the local press, both the Fitchburg press and the Worcester press, gave to it. In fact, the author, I know him well, John Donaldson. He said the best coverage of all newspapers that did this, where Fischer did simuls, was right here in Fitchburg.
Wow.
And by the way, the Wachusett Chess Club was the only chess club in Massachusetts that hosted Fischer for that simul in 1964.
Yep.
March 2nd, 1964.
Yep.
Now you, Dave, have a game, or you actually, I think I selected it, but you liked it.
Yep.
We have a game that Fischer played in 1962, 2 years before he came to Fitchburg. He played this game in what we call a candidates tournament.
Right.
And it was played in Curacao, which is actually in the Caribbean, island in the Caribbean. This was actually a 8-player event to determine who would be the challenger to face, who was the champion in 1962, was actually Botvinnik. Botvinnik had regained his title.
Okay.
He had beaten Tal. He gained the title back.
Okay.
So Botvinnik was Mikhail Botvinnik of Russia was the world champion. This candidates tournament was played to determine who is going to challenge Michal Botvinnik in a world championship match.
Right.
And Fischer was one. There was 8 players. 5 of the players were Soviet players.
Right.
Yeah, and again, Fischer did not like that. The fact,
Yeah.
he was how old was he? He was 19 years old. 19 years old. He said, "There's something wrong with this. We got 5 Soviet players. And there was a Czech player by the name of Miroslav Filip, and there was also who else was there? Benko. Pal Benko
from Hungary. Yeah.
Pal Benko from Hungary. Now, the game we're going to present is from that candidates tournament from 1962,
Yep.
in which Fischer faced Pal Benko.
Right.
It was a quadruple round robin.
Right.
Okay. So who had white in the game?
So Fischer had white,
What did he play?
and he
as his first
opened
move?
with his favorite move, played 99% of the time, E4.
Yes, E4. Right. We've presented that dozens of times, many times,
Yep.
many times. Okay. So in response to E4, Benko responds with E6, the pawn to E6. Now, what is the? We have presented this before to our chess chat viewers. What is this defense?
This is the French defense.
Okay, a very old defense, goes back to the 1800s. Okay, and it's a solid defense. In fact, it was the first defense I learned.
Okay.
As black against E4. And you said yourself,
Yes,
you
yep.
played it also, right?
Yep.
Okay. So what did Fischer do on move 2?
He plays D4, so completely occupying the center, since
Okay.
black is allowing it.
All right. All right. So Benko responded with pawn to D5. All right. So he's going up here. He's attacking now the E pawn. Okay. So there are different ways to continue here for white, are there not? I mean, it's not just only one way, but there's several ways. Okay. Can we just actually show our viewers some of the, just quickly, what are some of the choices that white could do here?
Well, a couple choices are he could exchange
pawns, yeah, that's one way.
Change to a drawish game. He could
Advance. You push, yeah.
lock the whole thing up.
All right,
But
okay.
the most common is simply knight to C3.
Okay, all right, so and that's what was played. We see that on our screen. Knight takes knight to C3, developing a knight. Now, Benko's move, third move. Yeah. He could, in this position, play the bishop on F8 to B4 and pin the knight.
Right.
But Benko didn't do that. He played knight to F6. So he now is coming out and attacking the pawn on E4. Now it's attacked twice.
Right.
Okay. So Fischer has to make a decision. What does he do here?
The main choices again here, he could pin the knight with the bishop,
Yes.
threatening the push, or he could just simply push immediately, which is what he did.
Okay. Now, by pushing the pawn to E5 as he did, this has a name now. Again, in chess, openings, they have names, but then there are variations that have names.
Yeah.
This is known as the Steinitz variation. It's
Okay.
named after the first official world champion, Wilhelm Steinitz.
Okay.
Yeah, who settled in the United States. I think he was born in Austria, but settled actually in the United States.
Okay.
And that's where he won the world championship, here in the United States. All right, so Benko has to move the knight. It's under attack.
Yep.
Okay, there are 2 squares he could go to. He can go to E4, but that he chooses not to do that.
Right.
Instead, he plays the more logical move, or the more recommended move,
Right.
is knight on F6 to D7. So he comes back with the knight. Okay.
Yep.
Fischer's move now. What he's going to do here on move 5.
Pushes his F pawn to F4, just reinforcing the pawn on E5.
All right. Okay, so we see that on the board. F4 reinforces E5. Benko's move, he plays the pawn to C5, attacks the pawn on D4. Okay.
Right.
All right. So now here is rather an interesting move by Fischer.
Right.
What does theory recommend here? What is the most popular move for white to play in a position like
I'm
this?
already forgetting what we had seen. Was it knight?
Yes.
Knight F3?
Just develop another piece.
Yeah.
You just bring another piece out into play because
Yeah.
it adds further defense on the pawn. But Fischer did something which actually players nowadays would not do.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did he do?
So he captured pawn on C5.
Okay, so D takes C5 is what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see it on our screen. Now, why is that not good?
Because he's helping black develop. So now black recaptures with the bishop, so he's
Yeah, and that's what
letting
he
him
did.
develop for free.
But you know, ironically, even though that's what Benko played, he did play bishop takes C5.
Yeah.
There was no need to rush to do that. He could actually develop this piece, knight to c6. But instead, Benko did take back immediately. Bishop takes c5. But theory does not recommend that. It recommends just bring out the knight and then threaten to take the pawn on c5 with the bishop. All right, it's Fischer's move, 7th move coming up. What does he do?
So he plays a very aggressive queen to g4.
Yes.
Attacking the g7 pawn.
Okay, that's under that. So, so what Benko does is just simply castle. Okay, that's his move on reply on move 7. All right, so now there's no threat now because he's castled.
Right.
Okay, Fischer's move. It's his 8th move. What does he do?
So he plays bishop to d3. Just simply developing and aiming at the king side.
Okay, so we're going to see. Yeah, we see bishop d3. All right. So now this is where, after bishop d3, Benko plays the pawn to f5. He moves it up, attacks the queen. The queen now is under attack.
Right.
Okay. Now, we could explain that actually the white had the opportunity. It could actually have taken en passant.
Right.
Yeah, but that is not a good move to play, because all it does is allow, if there were the en passant move here, this knight would be able to come here, attack the queen and force the queen to move again.
Right.
That wouldn't be recommended for to white to allow that. So instead, the queen moves. Where does it go?
Back to h3.
Okay, that's Fischer's 9th move. Okay. All right, here's a very good move by Benko, by the way. He takes the bishop on c5 and captures the knight on g1. Okay. Leaving white with, okay, we're going to see that move? Yep, there it is. Bishop takes g1, the knight is gone, and of course, there's only one move you have to recapture. Rook takes g1.
And we should actually speed up a little.
Okay, fine, we'll do that.
It's a fairly long game.
Okay, it's a long game. Okay, so knight c5 is not what Benko plays. Knight c5, okay.
Attacking the bishop.
The bishop's under attack.
On d3.
The bishop, yeah. Okay, so what does Fischer do in response to that?
Bishop to d2.
Yeah, instead of actually retreating the bishop to save the bishop, he said, no, I just want to continue with my piece development. And after bishop d2, now Benko comes out with knight c6. Let's see that on the board. We see the knight on b8 going now to c6. Another development of the piece. Okay. What is
now Fischer plays the knight to b5. He's looking to sink it in on d6, and from there it can't be chased away.
All right. Okay. So he wants to anchor it down on d6. Okay. After knight b5. Well, now Benko plays the queen on d8 to b6. Okay. So he's now getting ready for any, because remember, white has forfeited kingside castling by having the rook actually already moved, capturing. So the only option he has for castling is queenside, and what Fischer
does now.
He castles queenside on the 13th move. All right. Now the problem in the French, one of the reasons why I gave it up many years ago, is the problem bishop. This light square bishop is a problem, and right now it's how do you develop a bishop that was trapped behind its pawns? The only square it has is d7, and that's what Benko plays, bishop d7. Okay, Fischer's move, it's 14th move. What does he do?
He does what he planned to do, which is sink the knight in on d6. So
all right, the knight is on d6, anchored down there. All right, now Benko, in response to that, plays knight on c5 to a4, knight a4. Is there a threat? Does black have a threat?
A threat of mate in 1 right now.
He's threatening checkmate on the next move.
Right.
Okay. So how does Fischer stop this move?
So bishop to b5.
It's a blocker.
Blocking the queen.
So the bishop to b5, and again, it's protected by the knight on d6.
Right.
All right. So it's a nice blocking move, bishop b5. Here's what Benko does. He plays the knight on c6 to d4, and look what he's doing by doing that. Is he not attacking this bishop on b5?
Second time.
Three times. It's now it's 3 times. With the knight, the bishop, and the queen, there's a 3-fold attack on this bishop on b5.
All
right. Okay. So what does Fischer have to do in response to this?
What he does do is bishop to e3, pinning the knight against the queen.
He pins it. He pins the knight. Okay. So the bishop on e3. All right. So here's a very interesting move by Benko. He plays Wait a minute, do I have it right?
Yeah, 92.
92, yes. He came down to E2 with check. He calls check. Now, why did he do that? Because wait a minute. Is he allowing that knight to be taken? And that's what he did.
He is.
Why did he do that? Why did Benko come with a check?
Well,
Because
this probably wasn't the best idea. Fischer took the knight.
All right. So
E2.
But Benko's idea by allowing that is now it takes away the blocker on the B file,
right,
and allows Benko to come down with the queen. Queen takes B2 check.
So he's got quite an attack coming here.
Yeah. All right. So now the king only has one square.
So he goes to D2.
All right. We see King D2 by. All right.
Yep.
All right. King D2 is played. Now, if Benko wanted to draw, he could actually continue to check that the king was either on C3 or even B4 as he did.
Right.
Which he did. Instead he played Queen B4 check.
Right.
Attacks the king, and now and he can't push the pawn and block it because he'd be mated right on the spot where the queen takes the pawn.
So simply back to C1.
He has to go back to C1. Okay. And as he pointed out, Benko, if he wanted to draw, could do the continue with the check.
Just keep repeating, yeah.
Just repeating, but he didn't do that.
Right.
Instead, after King C1, he came knight on A4 to C3. Is there a threat now?
Yes,
What is Benko's threat now?
Threatening to mate either by taking here or by taking here. Either one would be checkmate.
So there's two ways to checkmate here.
Right.
So how does Fischer get out of this mess? He's faced with checkmate.
Right.
Two different ways.
So rook on D goes to E1.
Right.
Covering this bishop and also giving an escape square in case he takes here, so he could still go there.
And he needs that escape square.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Here is what Benko did in response to this. He took knight takes A2. He took here check. Yep. And of course, Fischer only has one square to go to with the king.
King to D1.
Remember, he created that escape square by moving that rook.
Right.
Right. Okay. So now Benko comes back with the knight to C3 check again.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So where does actually Fischer move now?
Again, this is
back to C1.
Back to C1.
Okay. All right. Now it gets really, really tricky here. Here is where Benko now pushes the pawn. He pushes the pawn on D5 to D4 and attacks here.
Attacks the bishop.
Right, exactly. Now, what happens here? What does Fischer do?
So Fischer just pulls the bishop back to F2.
Right, exactly. Yeah. All right, okay. He retreats it. Okay.
Yep.
All right, here is where now Benko now develops this rook on F8 over to C8. Gets on the semi-open C file. Who's winning this game now?
Black is winning.
Black has the superior position here after rook Fc8. All right, so how is Fischer continuing here?
So he plays bishop to D3, which is helping to guard this pawn.
Right. All right. So Benko is now going to play the following. He plays knight A2 check. Knight A2 check, right?
Yes.
On the 24th move.
Yep.
Okay. And again, there's only one move for the king. He's got
D1.
Remember, he created that escape square for that king on D1. So it's on king D1. So now Benko goes back with the knight to C3, check again.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what is Fischer going to do?
Only one reasonable place, king C1.
And Fischer's probably thinking, man, maybe Benko just wants to draw.
Wants to draw, right.
Wants to draw. I mean, if he wants to draw, he has to draw.
Right. He could just
but Benko doesn't want
again. Right.
But Benko doesn't want to draw. He now takes the rook on C8, moves it up to C5.
Right.
Because he's going to bring this rook into play here. Maybe bring it over to the A file.
Right.
Yeah. This is a nasty threat.
Very, very dangerous.
Okay. So what does Fischer do now on 27th move?
Queen H4.
Okay.
And we were not quite sure why, but that was his move.
That was his move. Okay. Well, what possibility is by playing the queen here, could come down here, attack this bishop here.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that seems like a plausible answer why he played queen H4. All right. Benko's move. He brings the rook over to A5. Oh wow, he has some nasty threats with the rook to A1 check. Does he not?
Right. He does.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now we have Fischer playing a move that actually probably would astound a lot of players, but actually is probably the proper way to play this position.
Right, because he's in danger of getting checkmated
Yes.
here.
There's a threat of the rook A1 check, forces the king to D2, moving right into the pin.
Yeah.
So what does Fischer do in response?
So king to D2.
Moves right into the pin.
Yep.
Right, moving to the king D2. Now, Black is still winning this game. In this position, Black is still winning the game.
Yep.
And what he probably could have done is play this bishop, as you pointed out, play this bishop here.
Well, yeah, a combination, right?
Yeah.
First the rook down to here.
Oh, do the check down. Put the rook here on A2.
Right.
Yep.
And then bring the bishop.
And then bring it, and then you actually.
Then you've got 4 pieces.
Piling up.
Yeah.
But here is where Benko goes astray.
Yeah.
Benko instead plays H6.
Yeah.
Now it's mystifying why he would do this, but he did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was he afraid of? I mean, but this is going to cost him dearly.
Yeah.
By playing H6,
And
because
Fischer doesn't miss his chance either.
no. So what does Fischer do now on his 29th
So
move?
he plays G4. He's going to rip open the king side here.
And open up the G file.
Right.
If he can actually capture on F5, he is now has an attacking file to operate on.
Right.
And what Benko did here, he took the pawn.
Yeah.
He took the F pawn, took G4. So this is very dangerous. This is bad news for him.
Yeah, it's
This is now.
it's already lost. Yeah.
The table has now turned.
Completely turned. Now it's Fischer winning.
White is winning this game now.
Yeah.
As a result of this H6 blunder.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So what does Fischer do?
He takes back.
Rook
takes
takes
G4.
G4. Okay.
Yep.
Now, Benko sees the threat of the queen taking the pawn at H6 because it can't take back because of the pin.
Right.
So he doesn't want this queen to be able to take here, and he can't go to this escape square because it's not an escape square because the bishop controls that square on
Yep.
D3. So he thinks by moving to H8, he would stop this queen from taking here. He doesn't realize that doesn't help his
Yeah, it's
position.
amazing that. Yeah.
Yeah, because here's what Fischer played.
I think he's lost anyway.
He's
but
lost.
Fischer takes
Yeah.
the pawn anyway.
Right, and now he's lost. He's in check, so
He's in check, and
Right.
he's going to be
mated on with the queen. So he resigns here.
Right.
Now, what if he actually accepted
So
the
if he-
queen?
so if he had taken-
if he accepted the queen sacrifice, what would happen?
Then it would be knight to F7 mate.
All right, so that's how the game would have ended.
Right.
But of course, Benko's not going to allow that. Mate, he realized
It's over,
he
right.
blundered.
Yeah.
He must have realized very, very quickly that H6 was a big blunder, and it cost him the game. And
Yeah.
again, he was winning the game. But this was rather an exciting game from the candidates tournament in
Yeah.
Curacao. Yeah.
Yep. So
And again, we're celebrating Fischer's 80th birthday, which is just 4 days ago. Not March 9th. This is March 13th.
oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
today's
4
the
days
13th.
ago. Right. Yeah.
So again, we commemorate him because he appeared in Fitchburg, which is
Right.
rather unique.
Yep.
And that was quite. And again, I as I told many people over the years, one regret I have is never meeting Fischer. I never came back from that simul in 1964. I was away at school.
Yeah.
Realized I couldn't get back to school
Right.
that same night.
Yeah.
So I gave up. So anyways, I hope our chess chat fans enjoy the game that David and I presented. We'll be here for another great episode of Chess Chat next time. Stay tuned for that program.